Before we start, please make sure to like this video and hit this subscribe button so you never miss a story like this. And also comments where you are watching from, how many sons and daughters you have. Thanks.
Sparkles, if you think money unites families, you've never seen mine. Before we dive in, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you love stories where family secrets get exposed. My name is Amelia Brooks, 27 years old. 6 weeks ago, I was just an ordinary preschool teacher, living paycheck to paycheck in a cramped apartment. My parents were always physically there but emotionally absent. My father, Gregory, was too busy climbing the corporate ladder, and my mother, Linda, was more interested in cocktail parties than family dinners. So I spent most of my childhood with my grandparents, Margaret and Thomas Brooks. They weren't just grandparents to me, they were my real parents. They taught me how to garden, bake cookies, and that money should never define a person's worth. Even though they built a fortune through their logistics company, they lived simply. Grandpa drove the same pickup truck for 20 years. Grandma still clipped coupons. And then, 6 weeks ago, everything shattered. They were driving home from their favorite restaurant when a drunk driver ran a red light. The crash killed them instantly. The police said they didn't suffer, but that didn't stop my world from falling apart. The funeral felt like a blur. My relatives, who barely visited them while they were alive, suddenly showed up with crocodile tears. My brother Ryan scrolled on his phone through most of the service. Aunt Clara cried loudly only when cameras were around. Uncle Neil stood silent in the corner, like always. But I was broken. My grandparents weren't just family. They were my safe place. 2 weeks later, I received a call from Mr. Goldstein, their attorney. He asked me, and my family, to come for the reading of the will. The morning of the meeting was gray and drizzly, almost like the sky itself knew what was about to unfold. I arrived early, clutching the umbrella Grandma had once insisted I always keep in my car. The office was warm, filled with polished wood and leather chairs. Mr. Goldstein greeted me with kind eyes. "Your grandparents loved you dearly, Amelia," he said. Before I could reply, the glass door swung open. My parents walked in first, Dad checking his expensive watch, Mom holding a designer handbag worth more than my rent. Ryan swaggered in behind them, sunglasses still on indoors. Then came Aunt Clara, already ranting loudly into her phone, with Neil trailing silently as usual. We sat around the oak table, tension already thick in the air. My father leaned back confidently, certain he was about to inherit everything. And then, the attorney began. "We, Thomas and Margaret Brooks, leave our entire estate, all $25 million in assets, properties, and business shares, to our granddaughter, Amelia Grace Brooks. We make no provisions for our son Gregory, his wife Linda, their son Ryan, our daughter Clara, or her husband Neil, as we have provided for them in life and explained our reasons." The room fell silent. My heart stopped. Did I hear that right? $25 million. All of it. Left to me. My father shot to his feet, face red with fury. "This is absurd," he shouted. My mother sneered, she wouldn't even know what to do with that kind of money. Ryan slammed the table. "What about me? I need startup capital for my business." Aunt Clara turned to me, accusingly. "What did you do, Amelia? Manipulate them?" I sat frozen, words trapped in my throat. And then Mr. Goldstein pressed a button on a remote. A screen flickered on, and suddenly, there they were. My grandparents. Sitting on their couch, alive again, smiling gently into the camera. My breath caught in my chest. Grandpa's voice filled the room. "If you're watching this, it means we've passed on. And we want to explain our decision directly, so there is no misunderstanding." And with those words, everything changed. Sparkle's money doesn't change people. It only reveals who they really are. Before I continue, hit that like button and subscribe if you believe family loyalty should never come with a price tag. As the video played on the big screen, my grandparents explained everything. Grandma's voice was steady, almost gentle. "Gregory, Clara, we love you, but we cannot pretend anymore. For years, you treated us as a bank account, not as parents. You skipped birthdays, ignored dinners, and dismissed our values as old-fashioned. But Amelia has shown us what true family means. She cared for us, without asking for anything in return." Grandpa added. "That's why we leave everything to her. We trust her to use it wisely, not to impress strangers, but to help others." The screen went black. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The silence was heavy, like the air before a storm. Then my father exploded. "This is garbage. They weren't in their right minds. We'll contest this will. No judge will ever let this stand." Mr. Goldstein stayed calm. They underwent medical evaluations before signing. Their mental state was fully documented. Contesting this will be extremely difficult. My mother's tone softened, but her eyes were sharp. "Sweetheart," she said to me, sugar dripping from every word, "you know this isn't right. That money belongs to the family. We'll help you manage it. You'll still get a nice piece, maybe enough for a down payment on a real house instead of that tiny apartment." Her condescension made my stomach turn. Ryan leaned forward, eyes burning. "Don't be stupid, Amelia. I need at least $5 million for my business. It's a crypto startup, it's going to be huge. This money isn't just for you. It's for all of us." Aunt Clara chimed in, her voice trembling with anger. "And what about us? We have 3 kids. That house should go to us. It's only fair." Fair. That word almost made me laugh. None of them had visited Grandma and Grandpa in years. None of them had sat by their hospital bed during flu seasons. None of them had spent Sunday evenings eating roast chicken and telling stories in that living room. And yet here they were, dividing everything as if my grandparents' wishes meant nothing. I wanted to scream, to shout at them, but the words caught in my throat. Mr. Goldstein slipped me an envelope. "All the documents are here, Amelia. Take your time. You don't need to decide anything today." The meeting dissolved into chaos. My father yelled about lawsuits. My mother begged me to be reasonable. Ryan pouted like a child who had been denied candy. Aunt Clara whispered furiously to Uncle Neil, who just stared at the floor. Finally, my father grabbed my arm on the way out. His voice was low, threatening. "This isn't over. Come to our house tonight at 6. We'll sort this out as a family." His grip was tight. His tone made it clear, this wasn't a request. As I drove away, the envelope sat heavy on the passenger seat. Inside were the keys, documents, and details of the estate my grandparents had trusted me with. A fortune. A legacy. A responsibility. But all I could feel was fear. Because I knew tonight, my family wasn't going to play fair. Sparkle's family can hug you with one arm and stab you with the other. Before I share what happened that night, make sure to subscribe if you believe no amount of money is worth losing your self-respect. At 5:45 p.m., I pulled into my parents' driveway. Their glass and granite mansion loomed in front of me, cold and showy, built to impress, not to welcome. I clutched the envelope of documents against my chest. My stomach was in knots. I told myself to stay calm. Inside, they were already waiting in the formal living room. My father stood by the fireplace, swirling a glass of scotch like a king preparing for battle. My mother perched on the edge of a designer chair, lips pressed into a fake smile. Ryan sprawled across the sofa, typing furiously on his laptop. Aunt Clara paced back and forth, ranting about what's fair. Uncle Neil stood silently by the window, as if he wanted to disappear. "Sit down, Amelia," my father ordered. I chose a chair near the door, close enough to escape if I needed to. Then it began. My father spoke in his corporate negotiation voice. Your grandparents weren't thinking clearly. They meant for the family to benefit, not just you. Here's what we propose: you sign over the estate to me, as head of the family. I'll distribute it fairly. You'll get 10%. That's more than generous. I froze. 10%. That was still more money than I'd ever seen, but it meant handing over the legacy my grandparents had trusted me with. My mother leaned forward, her tone dripping with condescension. Sweetheart, that's over $2 million. More than enough for someone like you. A teacher doesn't need more than that. Ryan slammed his laptop shut. Exactly. I need at least $5 million for my startup. This is about the future. My future. Aunt Clara jumped in. The house should go to us. My kids need it. They deserve it. I almost laughed. Her kids hadn't even attended the funeral. The guilt-tripping came next. After all we've done for you, my mother said, pretending to hold back tears. All the sacrifices we made, raising you. I nearly choked. Raising me? It was Grandma and Grandpa who had been there, not them. When guilt didn't work, the threats started. You're not listening, my father snapped. If you don't sign, we'll contest the will. We'll drag this into court. We'll bring up every private moment you had with them. Every time you visited alone. Every word you ever said about us. It will get ugly. The room fell silent. The threat hung in the air like poison. I thought of Grandpa's words. No one can take your dignity unless you give it away. Know what's right, and hold firm. And for the first time that night, I felt my fear turn into fire. Ryan typed furiously on his laptop and printed a crude transfer document. He slid it across the coffee table with a pen. Sign it, my father demanded. His voice was low, commanding. I picked up the paper. It was broad. Basically handing over everything. In exchange for some undefined percentage. My hands shook. My heart raced. I looked at my father. My mother. Ryan. Clara. All of them staring, waiting for me to give in. And then. I pushed the paper back across the table. No. The room froze. My father's face went pale, then red with fury. What did you just say? I looked him straight in the eyes. I said no. My grandparents trusted me with their legacy, and I intend to honor it. I will not sign. My mother launched into a tirade. Ryan cursed under his breath. Clara gasped like I had slapped her. And for the first time that night, I felt powerful. But deep down, I knew one thing. This battle was only beginning. Sparkles when greed takes over, family stops being family. Before I share what happened next, hit that like button and subscribe if you believe no one should be forced to betray the people who loved them most. The moment the word no left my mouth, the room erupted. My father's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful little brat. Everything you have is because of me and your mother. Don't forget who gave you life. I wanted to laugh. Life. Maybe. But love? That came from my grandparents. My mother's tone shifted again, syrupy sweet but with venom underneath. Amelia, darling, don't do this to us. Think of how it looks. A teacher hoarding millions while your own family struggles? People will say you manipulated them. Is that the story you want out there? Ryan slammed his fist on the table. You don't deserve it. You're going to waste it on, what? Books for kids? I can turn that money into billions if you just hand it over. Aunt Clara joined in, tears suddenly appearing on cue. I sacrificed for this family. I deserve the house. My children deserve better. And you, she jabbed a finger at me, you're stealing their future. Uncle Neil stood silently in the corner, his jaw tight. For a moment, I thought he might speak up. But he didn't. He just stared out the window. My father stepped closer. His voice dropped low. Listen carefully. If you don't sign those papers, we will ruin you. We'll drag you through court for years. You'll waste everything your grandparents left on legal fees. And in the end? You'll be left with nothing. His words cut through me. Fear prickled at the back of my neck. They weren't bluffing. My parents had money, connections, influence. I was just a teacher. I thought of my tiny apartment. My second-hand furniture. My salary that barely covered bills. Could I really fight them and win? But then I remembered the video of my grandparents. The way they looked at me through the screen. The trust in their voices when they said I was the only one who understood their values. That memory steadied me. No, I repeated. This time, louder. Clearer. I won't betray them. I won't betray myself. My father's hand tightened around the glass in his fist. For a second, I thought he might throw it. Instead, he hurled it into the fireplace, where it shattered into pieces. The sound made me jump. Ryan muttered something under his breath, typing furiously again, probably already trying to draft another scheme. Clara sank into the couch, fake crying into her hands. My mother glared at me like I was a stranger. And then, for the first time all night, Uncle Neil spoke. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the chaos. Maybe she's right. Maybe we should respect Margaret and Thomas's wishes. Everyone froze. Clara snapped her head toward him. Neil, shut up. But he didn't. His eyes met mine. And for a flicker of a moment, I saw something I hadn't seen in anyone else that night, sympathy. That's when I realized. Maybe I wasn't completely alone. But as my family continued to shout, threaten, and circle around me like vultures, one thought chilled me to the bone. If they couldn't break me with guilt or threats, what would they try next? Sparkles, the truth doesn't need defending, it just needs to be revealed. Before I tell you how I turned the tables, make sure to subscribe if you believe karma always finds its way back. The shouting didn't stop. My family circled me like predators, each one trying a different tactic: anger, guilt, threats. But then I remembered something my grandmother used to say. The best way to fight darkness is with light. Let people see the truth, and they'll know who to believe. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small black device. My family fell silent. It was a voice recorder. The red light blinked. My father's face drained of color. What is that? I smiled, steady now. Evidence. Everything you just said, the threats, the guilt tripping, the way you tried to force me into signing away the estate, it's all here. And tomorrow morning, my lawyer will have a copy. My mother's jaw dropped. Clara gasped. Ryan shot up from the sofa, eyes wide with panic. You wouldn't. My father started. Oh, I would, I cut in. Grandma and Grandpa trusted me because they knew what you were capable of. And now? So will the court. So will the world, if I have to. Silence. For the first time all night, they looked scared. Uncle Neil gave the faintest nod in my direction, approval, maybe even admiration. I stood up, clutching the envelope of official will documents. I'm done here. If any of you want to challenge the will, go ahead. But remember, I have this. I held up the recorder. And I promise, I won't be the one who ends up disgraced. I walked out of that mansion with my heart pounding but my back straight. When I reached my car, I looked up at the night sky. The stars were bright, almost as if my grandparents were watching. I whispered softly. I did it. I kept your promise. And for the first time since the funeral, I felt peace. Because in the end, I realized something powerful. Family isn't about blood. It's about love, loyalty, and respect. And sometimes, protecting your true family means standing up to the one you were born into. Fire.